My mom blocked me for telling the truth, and now I have 0 family left.
No, she's all alone in the world.
My mother got pregnant out of wedlock at age 19. My biological father was in the military, so it would have been quite easy to go after him with child support, but she didn't, and he didn't want to be in the picture, so because of her pride, she didn't go after him. I've never met him. By the way, this comes from a deleted user, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
And I'm Savannah.
And we're here to give you some good advice, goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do in any given situation. So if you would do something different, let us know in the comments. OP says, when I was 2.5, she married my first stepfather. He made it clear that I was generally an unwanted addition to my mother. After a while, she forbade him from spanking me, but he still did things like picking me up on my shirt and screaming in my face, telling me I'd never amount to anything. That kind of stuff. Classic terrible stepdad behavior. I'm sorry, OP. That's awful.
Yeah. That's absolutely terrible.
Until I was 8 or 10, I genuinely thought that no one liked their father and was shocked to learn otherwise.
That's actually really sad.
That's really sad. Time moved on. I moved out, went to college. Mom divorced first husband, and I haven't seen him since, thank goodness. Pretty quickly thereafter, she married second stepfather. He's okay, I guess. He has 2 daughters who have had no contact with him for years. I'm not 100% sure why. I've moved all over the country for work. She's never visited me in any of the places I've lived that weren't within driving distance because she's afraid to fly. To my knowledge, she's never flown. She's afraid of heights. She's just afraid. I got tired of always coming home to visit or sitting around the house, so for a while we'd meet up at a semi-decent destination, maybe the beach. I eventually stopped telling her if I was traveling because all I'd hear from her would be doom and gloom related to her own fears. Fast forward. I am now 40-something. My sisters are both losers, and anytime I talk to my mom, all she would talk about is what new mess my sisters has gotten into. No questions about me or my life, not that I would tell her anything anyways. I asked her repeatedly to stop talking about my sisters and their children and their messes, as I found it too depressing to listen to constantly. If it wasn't that, it was usually whatever job or church she had most recently quit. Her pattern would be that she'll work or worship somewhere for a while, then someone makes her mad about something stupid and she just quits. So, OP, it sounds like your mom is pretty emotionally unstable, and I would probably just slowly, cut contact. If you can't bring this to her and be like, hey, I feel like our relationship is really suffering and languishing, and I want to be able to have a connection with you, but I find it very difficult. And then if she's not receptive to working on that together with you, I think you just need to move on.
Yeah. Honestly, it took the words right out of my mouth.
She never stops talking about those things. I finally just start interrupting her with a reminder that I've already asked her not to talk about those things, or I say I have to go and just end the conversation. But she keeps trying. The major problem started some years ago when I got really sick. I had also just ended a bad relationship, and I seriously needed some help caring for myself and getting to doctor and legal appointments. The illness involved my lungs, and at the height of the illness, my O2 saturation was in the very low 80s. I was in a bad way. I asked Mom to come help because I couldn't drive myself to doctor's appointments, and she finally did drive up. I lived 3 hours away at this point, but was just acting weird. But to be fair, so was I. Lack of oxygen in your brain will make you do strange things. At any rate, she was sitting in the doctor's office with me when the doctor finally came back with a possible diagnosis that made sense. She labeled it reactive airway disease. By this time, they had already done tons of other tests and x-rays and ruled out etc. Later on, I found out for sure from an allergist that allergens in the air were shutting down my lung. Anyway, she just had this strange demeanor the whole time we were at the doctor's. I woke up the day after the doctor's appointment, and she's sitting in a room of my house reading a book. I asked her if she could make me something to eat, and she acts all bothered, and finally makes me a few pieces of bacon with a side helping of attitude.
Ooh, yum.
Not very nutritious attitude. Finally, I'm like, is something wrong? Yeah, I was barely hanging on, but let me try to figure out what's wrong with you. A neighbor of mine who happens to be an RN had stopped by the night before to check on me, and I had introduced her to my mom. My mom was super upset about this, apparently, because she was already in her pajamas. I was embarrassed and upset her. Also, she wanted to know what was really going on with me. Like, huh? Apparently, she couldn't grasp that I had an actual physical ailment and basically accused me of having some kind of substance or booze problem. Both of my sisters have had really bad problems with this. I'm like, no. Here's the printouts the doctor gave me that explain it. I have had super bad allergies my whole life, so I have no idea why this was hard for her to understand. She takes one look at the papers, drops them, and starts laughing at me. I turn to leave, and she just follows me with more of the, oh, come on now, what's really going on here? I was crying so hard at this point that I had a breathing episode like an asthma attack. After I recovered, I asked her to leave. We didn't speak for several years after that. I, personally, would probably say to never speak to her again after that.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it's best, to just get away from a bad situation.
One of our guests on the show, Matt, explained recently to me that the phrase blood is thicker than water is actually a mistranslation. And it's the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. So it's like the bonds that you choose to make with others is more deep and more important than the contrived bonds that just happen because you were born. But people always use that in the wrong way, where it's like your blood, your relatives are more important than your friends. But it's the literal exact opposite of that.
My philosophy is just like, if I am like happy, with these people, then I'm going to stick with them. If I'm not, then I don't have to. I'm not obligated to do anything. But I get that, having that family connection is hard. So
yeah, don't have it. She laughed in your face when you had serious illness and is now accusing you of having the same issues as your sisters, which you do not have. I was so sick that to this day, I literally don't know how I made it through that time period until my lungs recovered. My nurse neighbor definitely was a lifesaver. I was going to say, you should lean on your nurse neighbor. My stepfather later confirmed during a phone conversation where he was trying to convince me to call and apologize to her that my mom simply didn't believe I was sick. Fast forward about 3 years, and my fiance and his family want to meet my family. I've explained the situation to husband, but of course I get the, you only get one mother, you should try to work it out, blah, blah, blah. So I bite the bullet and ask her and my stepfather if they'd like to meet us for Thanksgiving and meet my fiance and his family, as the place we were going to was within driving distance. They agreed. The day before they were supposed to arrive was Mom's birthday, so I had texted her happy birthday. We'll see you guys tomorrow. What time are you guys leaving? Various things like that throughout the day. I never heard anything back. Finally, later that night, I call and ask what time they're leaving tomorrow. Oh, well, they're not coming now because I didn't make a big enough deal about her birthday. Apparently, she had somehow missed all of my texts. Despite my irritation, I said, look, this isn't about you, this is about me, and I've already told everyone you're coming. So they finally show up late the next day. The situation was horrible and tense, and apparently I was rude to her the whole time. They left early. I bite the bullet again a year later and invited them to the wedding. Again, they left early, and later I got some story about how rude I was to her, about how many pieces of bacon she took at breakfast. Yeah.
What?
Your mom is a petulant a-hole, and she has her own problems. She's a human being. You're not indebted to her because she also doesn't seem like she took very good care of you.
Yeah. If she let all of that happen and then put you in a bad situation and didn't really is like, oh, well, whatever, didn't think anything of it. And then is now blaming you for other stuff of just random stuff too, of just well, you were rude to me. That's such a cop out. Yeah. I feel ugh.
You know what's really rude is you marrying some guy who would pick up OP by their shirt and shake him and scream in their face.
Yeah.
And then staying with that guy.
That's rude.
If I have a kid and my partner does that to them once, it's over forever immediately.
Yeah.
I understand, maybe there's some situations where it's because of survival, it's you don't have any income, whatever. You have to be with that person in that moment, but it's I'd
rather take my chances. Throw me to the wolves.
Right. It's you got to figure something else out because that's dangerous.
Yeah.
A few years have gone by, and while things weren't all the Waltons, we're at least friends on Facebook and occasionally send Christmas cards and whatnot. A few months ago, one of my friends posted a question on Facebook asking something like this: explain the impact your dad had on your life. I replied and said none. That he had.
Oh, sorry, that was good.
Yeah, that he had gotten my mother pregnant and didn't stick around to do anything else. A few weeks later, I noticed I haven't seen anything from my mom popping up in a while and found out that she had not only unfriended, but blocked me. Apparently, and unbeknownst to me, she and any of my other friends were able to see this factually true comment that I had made, and it embarrassed and upset her. I said, okay, why didn't you call me then? I explained that I didn't know that she or anyone else could see the comment. I could have taken it down, and that defriending and blocking me seemed like a really immature way to handle it. She then goes on to say this: I did the best I could, and if that wasn't good enough for you, then you need to let it go, just like I had to do with Mama. I just thank God that I never put her down in front of others or disrespected her. To be clear, OP made a comment about their dad not being around, and now their mom is saying that embarrassed me. So
Yeah, it seems like it's very much like a relationship of like, well, what about me? Like the mom always needs to be like, either the one in charge or the like everyone feels bad for her, everyone, like blah blah blah, like everyone, it always just circles back to her, it seems like.
yeah, 100%. She had a bad relationship with my grandma as well. Shortly before all this happened, my stepfather called me up and basically asked me if I would call my mother and tell her what a great mother she's always been, because they're both beat down and tired from all the drama with my sisters. I said no and explained that I thought that 90% of her drama was self-created because she's all about herself.
Boom, I just said it.
Yes, he continued to ask if I could call her up and lavish her with praise, but finally gave up and hung up. Apparently, my comment about my lack of a father was the last straw for her, and she couldn't take any more. But by the way, there is way more full episodes with stories just like this on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search OK Storytime, and you have the full archive to listen to whenever you want. There's a little bit more story left. Yeah, I think, honestly, it's like, it's no contact time. She's already being like, this is enough for me. It's like,
I mean, she kind of got rid of contact herself. I feel like she did you a favor.
She's got problems that she could work on. She won't work on them. Her husband clearly sees no issue and just wants you to like lie to her and be like, oh, she was a great mom, which she wasn't. Anyone who stays with a partner who's a towards their children is not a good parent.
Agreed.
With like very, very, very few exceptions where it's like, okay, I have to stay with this guy because we have nowhere else to go and it's negative 20 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Maybe. But even then,
But
it's
there's
like,
also shelters.
I rest my case. So at this point, she and her husband have zero contact with any of the 5 children they have between them. I don't have any contact with one sister, and the other one I have very limited contact with because all she does is ask for money. So at this point, I have exactly 0 family. My grandparents are gone. I have no cousins or any contact with my only aunt. I have no relationships with my niece and nephews. One's in prison, another is well on his way there. And I wouldn't trust any of them alone in my house. I see the relationships my husband has with his family and how supporting and loving they are, and although I'm grateful for them, it's not the same. It depresses me because my family is such crap. I did some sleuthing a few years ago and found out that my real dad had another daughter. I contacted her on Facebook and explained who I was. She acted like I was trying to steal the family inheritance and blocked me on Facebook. I am actually quite well off and don't need anyone's money. It's like, man, could I just catch a break? I guess I should be thankful for what I have and stop dwelling on the past. But it's difficult. I just don't understand how a mother could act the way mine has acted. What can I do to stop being sad and depressed over the situation and just forget about it? I know I'm better off with no contact with them anyway. It's just sad and confusing. And that is the end of that story. I loved my sister, but she betrayed me.
No!
I have always been close to my sister. We were always together, and I've always thought we had a good relationship. But last year, I moved away for reasons I will explain later. Things have been different ever since, and I began to realize things never really were that good. First, let me introduce you to us. I'm 26 and my sister is 28, but people always think I'm the big sister. And I have to admit, I do feel that way too. By the way, this comes from a deleted user, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
And I'm Savannah.
And we're here to give good advice, a little goofily, but we don't always have the answers to everything. So we only know what we would do in a situation. So if you would do something different, let us know in the comments. And OP says, when I was a kid, I remember we were really close, but there were times where she would make fun of me endlessly until I had to be violent.
Ooh.
That is when she would go to our parents and say I was mean to her. I remember when I was a kid, I had an important allergic reaction. My whole body and face doubled in volume. It was traumatizing because I couldn't breathe and I thought it might be the end for me. It took me weeks to go back to normal. During that time, she insistently called me fat, ugly, and a potato head.
Me.
Which I know sounds stupid, but as a kid and because of the circumstances, I didn't like being told I looked like a potato. I think this traumatized me to some extent because I've had really unhealthy eating habits since that I am still working on today. No, I'm sorry, OP. Once she exchanged messages with a friend of mine. She kind of had a crush on him, and I saw that she said bad things about me, again, saying I was mean. This made me wonder what else she could have told other friends we had in common. During our teen years, we didn't fight a lot, but it was always about the same things. She stole my clothes, and I never managed to make her understand I took it as a lack of respect. Now I have to say that she and I are completely different. I'm introverted when she is more sociable. I prefer to have a small circle of great friends when she cannot stand to be alone. I'm responsible and she can be forgetful. I always was a good student when she had to repeat a grade, making things so she ended up being on the same level that I was in high school. Overall, I feel like my parents put more pressure on me because I always had to be the bigger person and was expected to succeed / be wise or understanding, blah, 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 blah. When we were preparing for our A-levels, my mom put us in so much pressure that I cried. Later that day, she went to my room to apologize and said that she was actually worried my sister wouldn't get the exam, so she was giving both of us a hard time to avoid being hard on my sister only. It made me feel like crap for my sister and even more pressured to get my exam. After that, I went to a different city for studies that actually weren't good for me and ditched 2 years later. I went back to my parents for a year, and the feeling of failure made me feel really low. I felt very depressed for a year, which my parents never understood. I get it. It really is valuable that the notion of it's not how hard you fall. It's about how you get back up. If you focus on how hard the fall was, you're never going to get back up.
The comeback is always greater than the setback.
Boom. Around this time, my sister came back home for a few days. She was living in London and told me to come with her. As I was feeling useless here, I accepted. In London, I slowly managed to turn things around and decided to study again and got my degree there. If living with my sister was fine at first, it got more and more difficult. The first year of my studies, I didn't have a job. New studies, foreign language, I wanted to focus on that. But my parents gave me enough money to survive the month. She would insist I come to the parties with her, saying she'd buy me drinks, but she would always bring that up anytime we argued, saying she paid for everything and was doing everything. The second year, I struggled to find a part-time job, and she made me feel like crap for it until I found a stable job. Overall, I was the one in contact with agencies that rented us the different places we lived in. When signing the contracts, the full responsibility was mine. When it went badly with the realtors, I had to take care of it myself, as she claimed to not understand these things. Same for the bills, providers, and broadband. If we had any issue, I automatically was the one who had to call. I managed to take a few things off my shoulders when we rented the last flat we lived in together. I only gave my sister's contact to the landlady. She was always late paying her taxes, and one time she got a trial because she ignored the warning letters. I told her she needed to take care of that. Guess who had to go to the council and fix it? In spite of all this, she would sometimes complain that I was a burden and she was taking care of everything and the only one cooking and the only one cleaning, totally not acknowledging what I was doing or that I had work to do too. I forgot to tell you, we were sharing a 1-bedroom flat.
Oh, nice. So they're just like, sleep over every night. Love that. I've done that.
If you're in that situation, if you don't have a great relationship with that person and y'all aren't communicating very well with each other, it's always going to end up very bad.
Yeah, especially if you're sisters.
Yeah.
That's yikes.
Most of the time I would sleep on the couch in the living room when I wanted more privacy, but there was always a point when I would miss sleeping in a bed. My sister also invited people to sleep over at our place. Once she went out and I stayed at home as I had to go to uni in the morning. She came back late with a bunch of people, came into my bedroom with a girl and told her she could sleep in the bed with me and the others would sleep on the couch. I was just shocked and really mad. That night I told her her behavior was not okay and I didn't feel respected. I made her promise this would never happen again. But she kept inviting people over and hosting friends who came from abroad all the time, even though we didn't even have our own space. She kept doing it and I kept accepting it for a while until I was fed up again, but she wouldn't hear me. We fought more often about this and her overall disrespect. She would often retort that I wasn't easy to live with either, and when I asked her to tell me what I was doing wrong so I could change it and make her feel better, she would say she doesn't have an example in mind. One time she said she didn't like the fact I left my empty glass on the table. So empty glass on the table is the equivalent to, hey, stranger, sleep in this bed next to my sister who she doesn't know you.
I'm sorry, but that's weird. I would never, ever. What if they could be
Both sides of that are weird to me because it's weird for her sister to be like, oh yeah, you could totally just sleep in the bed next to my sister. And it's weird for OP to not just be like, no, you're not. Like, yeah, sorry that my sister brought you over without a place to sleep, but I'm sleeping in the bed. I don't know you. You're not sleeping in this bed. Get out of my room.
Yeah, I feel like that's not like a rude thing to say, you know?
No. If I was the random person, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah,
Clearly,
also,
okay, if this isn't cool, she made it sound like this is cool. If it's not cool, I'm not going to do it because I'm not a psycho.
yeah, if I was the random person who like came in and then we were like, oh, by the way, you're gonna sleep with my sister that you don't know, I'd be like, I'd rather sleep probably anywhere else. I
I'd be
don't
like,
know.
I'm going to go, actually.
Yeah,
I'm just
I'll find a place.
going to leave. Around that time last year, I was sick as heck. And as she was going to go out that day, I told her I didn't want to contaminate her and I'd be sleeping on the couch. She rang at the door at 3 a.m. because she forgot her keys because, yeah, that happened from time to time also. She had also brought a friend of hers who didn't want to take the bus home. At this point, it was really too much. We had different people over for months. She was basically treating me as if I was an appliance in her flat, and I was tired of having the same conversation over and over. So the next morning, I told her we needed to have rules. We don't tell people they can stay over until we both have our own room, and we try to be considerate to our roommate. She said I was being annoying for always bringing up something that happened one time 2 years ago, referring to the first incident where she brought a girl in my bed in the middle of the night, and that what we really needed was bunk beds. Where did that idea come from? My sister only ever says sorry this way when I confront her really hard about being disrespectful to me, and this time added she can't change the way she is anyway, which is BS. That's when I realized she really didn't give a crap about me or my well-being. Following this conversation, she avoided me for days. I was the sickest I had ever been. I didn't even go to work, and I was staying on the couch all day. When she came back home, she would go straight to the bedroom. When I started to feel better, I went to the bedroom while she was at work and found empty snack bags. Going to the kitchen would mean she had to see me, so potentially talk to me. When she got back home, I told her this needed to stop, and she said I was the one ignoring her. I said it was crazy how she could never admit her wrongs, and she didn't give a crap about me, because if she did, she would have checked on me when I was sick, or at least asked how I was feeling. Again, she said, well, sorry I'm that way, to which I replied, didn't mean anything if she wasn't doing anything to make things better. I told her I was tired and afraid I might end up hating her if she kept doing this to me, and I really don't want that. A few days before, I had received an offer for an internship back in my hometown. Considering the situation, I felt like nothing was holding me back in London. I accepted, but only announced it to my sister about a week later, saying I was out of here by the end of next month. Once, when we were out with friends, she said in front of me this time that I was mean, and I never let her do anything. It was around that time also that she met a guy on Tinder and things got moving pretty fast. One morning, I was falling asleep. I had worked the night shift when I heard someone come home. I knew it wasn't my sister because she was at work. I heard footsteps and started to get scared, so I went to the bedroom door and asked who was there. It was her new boyfriend, and he had a few boxes with him. It looked like he was moving in. I was puzzled but didn't say anything, as I thought my sister would have told me if a guy I didn't know was moving in. Anyway, the next time I saw my sister, different working hours, the guy was still home. So I took her aside and asked what was going on. I said, what's happening? Is he living here? She says, I don't know. I say, well, I think it's simple. Either you told him he could move in or he decided he could. Now you need to tell me which is which so I can react accordingly. Same answer from her. She's like, I don't know. At this point, I just go silent. There's nothing more to say or do, and I know I'm moving out in a week anyway. She came to talk to me a few days later, saying she wanted to talk to me. She asked what was wrong because she felt like I didn't like her boyfriend. I told her the problem was her, not him, and we had already talked about it, but she just ignored it. She basically ignored it every time I tried to ask her to be more considerate. And by the way, you should consider listening to full episodes with stories just like this on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search OK Storytime, and you've got the whole archive at the tips of your fingers. We have a little bit more story left. But, like, this situation is insane. Like, your sister doesn't care. Just acknowledge that. Understand how your sister moves instead of, like, pretending like she's going to change. Operate like she will never change and then act accordingly.
Yeah, this is like me and my sister, like, we get along great. But, like, in times like these when we, like, don't, it's kind of like the same situation of, like, you say you're wrong and then, like, you know, everything will be fine. But it's like, no, like, we are so stubborn with each other because nobody wants to lose a battle, first. And second, like, especially if it's with your sister, like, it just, I don't know, it does something to you. I feel like it does something. It's like, Like, no, like, I want to be right, because you always say, like, my sister used to always, like, I'd do something. She'd be like, I remember that from when we were little. And I'm like, what? Like, especially when we were like teenagers or whatever. She'd just come over and like just hit me or punch me or whatever. And I'd be like, what was that? And she'd be like, well, I just remembered the time you did this to me. And I'm like, that's so stupid. But that's just like what sisters do. I don't know. But she does seem inconsiderate. And I get that because I feel that way as well with my sister sometimes.
That's good to have the sibling perspective because I'm just only child. Can't really tap into the sibling mind. But yeah, it's valuable to have that perspective for sure.
Yeah.
Since I moved out, I'm so relieved, and I feel like a huge burden has been taken off of my shoulders. I wasn't feeling like myself anymore. I think my sister's behavior forced me to be more serious and responsible. I had to give her attention and support her all the time and fix her mistakes when I felt like I was on my own. Now I feel like I can have more fun and focus on me. The only problem is that I still love her. She's my sister, and we did have good times, but she pushed me to the edge. And now I feel resentment to the point that I sometimes want to be mean or belittle her. I know it's petty and I know I shouldn't, but something between us broke before my moving out. I don't want to hate her. I know we're still better off apart, that's for sure, but our family is still very close and I'm scared this whole thing will destroy us. It's been a year since I moved out, and when she visited recently, I was surprised that I still feel anger. I don't know how to make things better or if it's even possible. Maybe I need therapy. Bingo! Thank you for reading, and any advice or suggestions are welcome. Well, it was probably pretty cathartic writing all that out. That's the end of that story. She married my brother. Now she controls my life.
No, not the brother!
Shouldn't she be controlling his life?
Yeah.
I have only met her twice before she recently married my brother. She was at her best and seemed decent enough. I was happy to have a sister-in-law and hoped that we could have a great relationship. By the way, this comes from user Melancholy Bean. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
And I'm Savannah.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do in any given situation. So if you do something different, let us know in the comments. As OP says. They got married in a courthouse and told us about 2 months in advance. I told them that I wasn't able to attend because I have a senior dog with epilepsy. Fair.
Yeah.
A fair reason to not attend. I have never boarded her before and was worried because she's also high-strung. They also plan to have a vow renewal in 2 years' time with an overseas trip and plan to invite more people, so I thought it wouldn't be too bad that I missed out. I didn't think my sister-in-law cared that much that I couldn't attend. They got married on Christmas Eve and insisted I come and visit them for a week the week after. They live in a different state. I am here now and can't believe how controlling she is. She treats me like a child, even though I'm older than her. When my parents visited to attend their wedding, they told my brother and sister-in-law that they were worried about me. I lost confidence from my last job and was depressed and didn't work for a year. I did a short course, but other than that, I stayed home most of the time. I got more depressed because I let go of my friendship with my supposedly best friend of almost 20 years. My relationship with my mom is also strained. 2022 was a depressing year for me. I already know that my situation is pathetic as I'm 36 and still live at home. Results may vary. That's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard. I give people a break.
It's really only like once you like get married and stuff in most other cultures that you're expected to even move out in the first place.
Yeah,
It's
honestly
only
true.
like in the States and like Western culture where that's so expected. It's like until you have your own family, it's like pretty much everywhere else. It's like, why would you not live with your family? They're your
Right.
like,
And it makes sense. It's like save money so that you can afford instead of, trying to do it and then failing and being like, I'm in squalor.
I'm a failure
Right?
and I suck. I've never moved out, so I don't have the experience of living on my own or with roommates. But even though I live at home, I used to pay rent to my mom and split the utility bills. My parents don't force me to pay rent, but as an adult, it's the right thing to do. And I appreciate not having to pay excessive rents. But since I didn't work last year, I didn't pay rent, but I still split the utility bills and buy things for my parents when they need me to. And sometimes I don't ask to be repaid. My parents don't know a lot of English, so I help them as a translator when they need me to, and help with whatever else they need. I'm not mocking them. They mostly leave me alone, and I'm free to do whatever I want. They're not controlling or toxic. Obviously, if they were, I would move out. On the first night that I arrived, my brother and sister-in-law were telling me I needed to move out. My sister-in-law also complained about my new dog and said I should give him up and that I'm using him as an excuse to not move out. My mom wanted to get a new dog as her friend was giving her dogs away. I was hesitant because I was worried my senior dog couldn't cope with a new dog. I said we can try him out for a week, but it's been a month, and I'm attached to him, and he's attached to me. He's 2 years old, and since he wasn't socialized and was left in the backyard with his siblings, he has behavioral and social issues, which is understandable. He's aggressive around my parents, tending to bark and lunge at them, but so far I have taught him to sit, and he tells me when he needs to do his business because he goes and sits by the door. He still pees and poops in the house if I let him roam free, but he doesn't do it in my room. He's actually quite a good boy otherwise. No, he's not. Sorry. No, he's not. He's trying to bite your parents. You can't say, he tries to bite my parents all the time, but otherwise, he's a good boy. He also poops and pees everywhere in the house unless I keep him in my room. But otherwise, he's a good dog. That's a dog that takes a lot of training and a lot of time and energy that I don't think you're able to give.
Yeah, there was a lot of stipulations with that. She was like, I mean, he's great, but like it was the butts.
And to be honest, you've had the dog for like a couple months and you say it's attached to you, it'll be attached to someone else if they stay with it for a couple months.
It's true and it's sad.
Sorry. My sister-in-law was putting down my dogs and praised how good her dog is, even though she bought him from a breeder and put in the effort to take him to puppy school and train him. So of course her dog would behave more than my dogs.
Well, yes.
I mean, she's right, but I mean, she shouldn't be like just like
throwing it in your face.
Yeah, she shouldn't throw it in your face, but
Yeah.
like, it's kind of weird that you're like, well, yeah, of course, she had her dogs trained.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you should do that. And then people tell me I hate dogs because I say stuff like that. Like, oh, Dakota hates dogs. I'm like, no, train your animals. If they're animals that need to be trained, train them.
Well, it's just everyone thinks they need a dog. Like, they're like, oh my God, it's so cute, I want a dog. And then they don't realize how much work. And then they're like, oh my God. And then they're like, not good. You know, like they can't be trained. I mean,
if you don't put in the work to train your dog's a menace.
To society
To
and the government.
literally everyone around it. It's sort of like the same premise of like an unruly child where it's like the parents are like, oh, they're so sweet, I love them. But
Yeah.
everyone around them is like, make that kid be quiet.
Yeah. No, they're just charismatic. Like,
No,
oh my
they're
God.
actually screaming at the top of their lungs in Olive Garden, and you need to make them stop. The next day, we went to have brunch, and they kept on telling me to move out and treat me like a child. I was frustrated and started to feel more depressed. I already felt depressed, but tried to have a good time only to be subjected to lecturing. It was New Year's Eve, and that night we went to a dinner event at a brewery. She forced me to drink, even though I didn't want to, as I already felt depressed, and I get sad when I drink. On the way home to Uber, the conversation somehow changed into her mentioning again that I live at home and don't pay rent. Before that, she was ranting about how her parents forced her to do piano and sports when she was young. I joked that she had an Asian childhood. I am Asian, and she's Caucasian, but our childhoods were the opposite. I didn't know her parents were quite strict and headstrong. I said that usually Asian parents don't force their children to pay rent, and she started getting angry and saying, I can't generalize, and just getting really pissed off. When we got dropped off, she kept on going off at me and saying that I'm a child. She said that I'm negative and don't appreciate her hospitality, and that I don't say thank you, and I kept on asking for things. I was so confused because I didn't think I was doing anything wrong or being rude. I wasn't obsessing over saying thank you and was chill because when I first arrived and my brother was showing me my room, I was saying thank you and that he doesn't have to worry about making me comfortable because I'm easy. And he yelled at me to not be so polite, so I relaxed. I'm usually polite and say thank you and sorry more than necessary. And apparently I'm negative because I told the truth about the bed being uncomfortable. They asked me how I slept. I said the bed was quite hard. My sister-in-law told me a few weeks before I arrived that she bought a sofa bed. I appreciate that she did that and messaged her thank you. I told them I would be fine sleeping on the floor or the blow-up mattress that they have. When she apologized after berating me, I started crying because I was so confused. After talking it out, it turned out that she was still upset that I didn't attend their wedding and was getting upset over little things I did. Even so, it was completely out of line. I can forgive her, but it's the fact that she's condescending towards me. I can't say anything without her trying to one-up me, making it seem like I'm a complainer or treating me like a child. Examples, I don't want to talk to her because of how she is with me, and the other day, when we were waiting for my brother to open the door after he parked his car, she asked if I was okay. I said, yeah, I'm just tired. She asked if I usually have afternoon naps, and I said sometimes, but I try not to because it's not that beneficial for me. And she said that it could be worse. I have sleep issues. And she gave me advice about seeing a cognitive behaviorist and all that. Because she does breath exercises and tried other methods to help with her ADHD-related anxiety, I asked her, so, do you feel well rested the next day? And she couldn't even answer me normally. She kept on saying, Well, I know what's wrong with me, and I took steps to do what's right for me, and prevention is better than a cure. It sounds like she answered you, my guy. She's like, well, I mean, I know what worked for me, so I did that. I tried to figure out what was wrong with me. Your situation's different than mine. I don't know if what works for me is going to work for you. That's an answer. We went to an open range zoo yesterday, and she did mention that a safari bus tour usually comes every 10 minutes. Later on, she asked what I wanted to see, and I said we can go on the tour, and asked when that came by. She looked annoyed and walked away and said, like I said, when I went there, they came around every 10 minutes. She sounds annoying.
I mean,
Okay.
it's different. Like, who cares, honestly?
She sounds annoying. She's not being honest about why she's annoyed by you. If she's upset that you weren't at the wedding, she should have just said that and been like, hey, sorry, I just got to get this on my chest. I'm kind of upset that you didn't go to our wedding. What was that about? And you go, oh my God, I have an elderly dog with epilepsy. I had to take care of him. I'm sorry. So she got pissed off because the first morning after I arrived, I took too long in the shower. I took a bit longer because I washed my hair. I also didn't think they needed to shower because they had a shower before bed the night before. We also didn't have a booking somewhere, so we weren't late for anything. We just went to brunch. She makes little comments about me, and I've seen her whispering to my brother from my peripheral vision after I've walked by. She constantly treats me like a child, and it's frustrating. But I have to pretend everything is fine because I'm the guest. And by the way, you can be our guest wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. Just search OK Storytime. You've got the full archive to stream right into your ears. Yum, yum, yum.
Yum, 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 yum.
We have a little bit more story left, but what is our take here?
I think that this sister-in-law is very controlling, and she feels resentment towards OP because they didn't come to the wedding. But the thing is, she had a reason. It's not like she just made up a fake reason and was like, oh, something's happening and I can't come,
Yeah, my stories were on that day and I couldn't not watch them.
Yeah, it could have been a much worse.
Then she go, I can't do anything until I watch the new episode of She-Hulk.
Sorry.
I'd be mad if you didn't come to my wedding because of She-Hulk, but you had an elderly dog with epilepsy, so fair enough. Let's finish this story.
Yeah.
She said she stopped taking her ADHD medicine because they're trying to start a family, so at first I understand that it might be causing her to have mood swings, but it doesn't give her the right to be an a-hole to me. She doesn't try to understand me or my anxieties. She has all these assumptions about me when she doesn't know my experiences. I try to be understanding towards her, but she's self-righteous and judgmental. She thinks she's better than me because she's married. I worry about them having children now because she seems quite manipulative and controlling. She needs more therapy before starting a family. I worry about my future nieces and nephews. And that is the end of that story.